Hey everyone, Thyworm here. This is the follow-up video in the MTX shop saga because we have another post, this time from the CEO of 11th Hour Games himself, Judd Kobler. I'll give you the gist plus my thoughts. If you enjoy less Epoch content, feel free to subscribe, I appreciate it. In the introduction, Judd right off the bat announces the changes. The weird conversion ratio is gone, we now get 10 points for each dollar. All prices are reduced and Epoch Points packages are now lined up with MTX costs, meaning that the simple cloak I used as an example in yesterday's video now costs 50 Epoch Points instead of 95, and 50 Epoch Points cost you $5. What is happening here is exactly what I predicted would happen yesterday. It is anchoring at its finest, and it's also working because the LE community is praising EHG for this approach. There is no real surprise here, it was pretty clear initial pricing was way too high, and now EHG got the pricing they wanted, plus it seems like they're listening to feedback. But I'm not entirely ready to jump on that Hosanna praise the Judd bandwagon here, although I'm also not going to be a massive cynic either, because they have after all reverted most of the changes I criticized and they could have also chosen to not do anything. Unlikely scenario, but still. So while they deserve some praise, the way this went down leaves a sour taste in my mouth, and I'll further elaborate on that soon. Second part, how we got here. Judd admits the studio's mistake by listening too much to, quote, advice designed around previous titles, end quote. In other words, Tencent. Which makes sense, by the way. I mean, Tencent bad, yeah, I know, and everything. But Tencent is one of the leading authorities when it comes to gaming monetization, whether you like it or not. So not getting advice from a company like that would be weird. However, following that advice, that's an entirely different matter. In my personal opinion, I'm not sure this post is telling the whole story. This anchoring strategy is so often used that I feel it's very likely Tencent also instructed them on this whole narrative. Post some crazy high prices, receive expected backlash, write your "we will do better" post, and everyone wins. The devs got the pricing they wanted and the community thinks EHG is a great company. Too cynical? Maybe, but let's look at this from a practical organizational perspective. These monetization decisions aren't made overnight, right? Surely you've done a bunch of calculations and projections regarding the pricing, popularity of the game, sales, etc. to figure out the correct pricing to keep your studio going. If we assume the initial pricing was actually something they legitimately thought was okay, meaning it is not anchoring, are you telling me that within 24 hours you throw away all those projections and calculations, you literally cut some MTX costs in half, you remove incentives to buy bundles, you're basically within 24 hours making a decision to lose at least 30 to 40% of your initial projected revenue to fund an entire studio? I mean, once again, my personal opinion, but I'm just not buying that, I'm sorry. It's so obvious what's happening here, and this was the plan all along. Which, by the way, doesn't mean that the outcome is bad or anything, it just means that they're not as transparent as they claim to be. Let's look at the third part, new pricing and purchases. The bonus points are gone, the pricing has been split up in 50-point increments, meaning you can always buy enough Epoch points to buy an MTX. And this is all good news. Got nothing to add here apart from giving EHG credit for making the changes. It's part, in my opinion, of the narrative, but they could in theory also not have changed a single thing. Then the supporter packs, we still don't know what is in these things. It looks like a cloak, portal and pet. What we do know is that each pack gives 150 Epoch points, no matter the cost. I think they should copy the PoE model here and provide Epoch points equal to the purchasing price, meaning the cheapest supporter pack, the Eternal Traveler, costing $20 should provide 200 Epoch points, and the most expensive supporter pack, the Eternal Legend, costing $50, should provide 500 points. A change they will probably make. I'm not sure why anyone at this point would buy a $50 pack because the value really isn't there. Something I didn't talk about yesterday was the actual MTX itself, except in the comments section. Some people, myself included, think they're pretty ugly. It's quite a personal opinion though, which MTX you like or not. I do think, however, it's fair to say that when objectively looking at the Glacial Portal MTX, which is the only one we have visuals of, it just doesn't look all that good. It's static, stiff, The animations are not impressive at all, the textures look bland and not detailed, and compared to many other MTX shops in other games, the overall quality seems low. It's just one example, but why would they show us a bad example, one they're not proud of? So I will say I'm a little worried about the MTX quality so far, and they may need to hire a few specific designers just to create cool MTX, otherwise they are relying solely on people wanting to support them, like me, and they're missing out on people wanting to buy cool MTX because there isn't any. The next section deals with why Last Epoch needs Epoch points. I think the reasons stated are mostly okay and valid, saying that it helps with refunds and transactions, providing freedom of choice, providing means to reward the community, think about events for example, and there are already so many coins out there from supporter packs. They couldn't scrap that without having to refund or risk some serious legal issues. So the Epoch points are staying, and now that the price is clear, I think that's completely fine. We can all make a single conversion and divide by 10, right? As seasoned ARPG players, I would think so. And finally, the conclusion. I will quote the last paragraph so you get the sentiment of the post. Quote, "We sincerely thank you for your passion in what we are creating here at 11th Hour Games and taking your time to provide us with your feedback. We hope and aspire to always rise to the occasion to correct our mistakes when we've planned or introduced something that isn't well received by our fantastic fans, the fans who have taken us from a small after-hours group on Kickstarter to the studio we are becoming." End quote. So, here's my take. On the one hand, this last paragraph and the article as a whole is quite an honest article, all things considered. They're taking the blame, they're admitting mistakes, and they're making changes across the board. So, why would you still criticize this? Well, most people aren't. The community feedback is mostly positive, as expected. Sure, the FOMO aspect of supporter packs is still there, that's one thing. But more than that, the whole narrative is one I have seen too many times. And I'm completely aware what's going on here. I predicted basically this whole thing yesterday, and it all happened. Not because I'm so smart or clairvoyant, but because this is just how it goes time and time again. And you can see why on the forums, because people once again are super happy. To me, there are two scenarios here. Either one or the other is the case. Scenario 1 is what I've been saying in this video and also yesterday, which is that EHG is using a bunch of psychology and anchoring tactics to get their MTX shop online, plus keep the community happy. They know exactly what they're doing also yesterday. They're still playing games with the customers, and while this forum post doesn't contain any lies or anything, it is not the entire truth either. Scenario 2 is that we believe this forum post to the letter and there really are no other shenanigans going on, meaning this was ultimately an honest mistake. Well, a series of honest mistakes, and that's all there is to it. If that scenario is true, it might be more worrisome than scenario 1, because that means, for the second time in a short period, after the whole trade debacle, the devs, despite efforts like community testers and whatnot, still don't know what their community and their game truly needs. Somehow, they keep messing up these big topics, and it could have been avoided so easily. Just ask your boy Thyworm for some advice. Anyway, I might make a video on these two scenarios because it's a trend I've noticed and potentially a rather big issue within 11th Hour Games. First though, I want to see what else 0.9.1 brings. So far, I'm very much not impressed with what is shown, but who knows. I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. Love you all. See you soon. Bye bye.